Thank you so much for gathering here today on our conference, Say No to EU Redefining Parenthood. My name is Katarzyna Gęsiak, and I am a Deputy Director of International Law Center at the Ordo Iuris Institute for Legal Culture. Together with Rafał Dorosiński, a Director of the Legal Analysis Center, we will be the moderators of today's discussion. I would like to make just a few introductory remarks about this conference. We have gathered here with us representatives of leading European non-government organizations dealing with protection of basic family rights and values. This conference is intended to inaugurate an international petition launched by the NGOs coalition from all over Europe, opposing the European Commission's proposal for a regulation on the recognition of parenthood across the European Union. As we all know, the Commission President said in her State of the European Union speech in September 2020 that if you are parent in one country, you are parent in every country. What does it mean in practice? In fact, with this statement, the Commission President referred to the plan to enable the parenthood established in one member state to be recognized in all other member states. This plan is going to be realized by the adoption of the regulation on the recognition of parenthood between member states. However, the aim of this regulation would be to interfere with a substantial family law of particular member states, which, according to the European treaties, is inadmissible. Treaties states clearly that substantive issues of marriage and parenthood belong to the exclusive competence of member states. So it must be emphasized that European Union has no competences to regulate this field of law. This fact is extremely important, bearing in mind that family law often differs significantly between member states. So now, partnership or child adoptions established in one member state often may not be recognized in other member states, in many member states. Such situation is most often dictated by the different constitutional provisions of member states, which include, for example, the definition of parenthood. So this is why we gathered here and believe that our voice, the voice of societies from European Union, would be heard by institutions of European Union, and we all together say no to the definition of parenthood in European Union.
As you have heard, there is no authority of European Union in changing substantial family law of the member states of European Union. That kind of imposition would be against number of regulations of member states. That fact was confirmed by the European Commission itself in its own communication. Moreover, Fundamental Rights Agency also confirmed that that area of law, the family law, lies in the competence of member states of European Union. But apart from that, apart from European aspect of the issue that we are discussing, there is another aspect of that issue, namely the regulations of member states. And the number of member states prohibits adoption of same-sex parents. Part of those countries have such a prohibition in constitution. So one of those countries is Poland. In Polish family code, there is a provision stating that only spouses can adopt a child together. The same family code stipulates that only parents of opposite sex can adopt the child. At the same time, the same code define and declare that the spouses are only man and woman in the union called marriage. Moreover, the Polish Constitution in Article 18 declares that the marriage is a union between man and woman. So the consequence of those provisions is prohibition of adoption of the child by people of the same sex, by the couple of the same sex. What should be added is that the head of the office is legally obligated to refuse and not to recognize any foreign document that would state that the child has two mothers or two fathers. That regulation was confirmed by the Polish Supreme Administrative Court. Moreover, the possibility of imposing on Poland the obligation to adoption that would be incompatible with Polish legal system was ruled out by this protocol, which declares that Court of Justice of European Union has no authority to declare that that certain regulation in Poland concerning family law is against the Charter of Fundamental Rights. Moreover, Poland itself made a declaration that stipulates the authority of Poland to proclaim and to enact laws concerning family law. It should be also noted that during the process of access to European Union, Poland declared that any laws, any treaty laws, or any laws that are enacted and after the moment of joining European Union cannot be basis for imposing on Poland regulations contradictory to its values and moral of moral importance, the regulations of moral importance. So the conclusion must be that it's definitely inadmissible to pass the regulations that allow same-sex couples to adopt a child due to best interest of the child. As I said, Poland is only one of the number of European Union member countries in which such regulations are in force. Among those countries are also Slovakia, Hungary, Bulgaria, Romania, Litva, Lithuania. So there is a number of European member countries which has regulations promoting the good of child, and the European Union has no authority to impose on those member countries the regulations that lies directly in the area of its own authority. Only those countries have competence and jurisdiction to regulate the issues of family law, especially substantial family law. I would like to give the voice to other participants of our conference. Kasia, would you like to introduce our first speaker?
Yes, of course. I would like to introduce our first panelist, Mrs. Eszter Parkani from Hungary, a lawyer, analyst from Center for Fundamental Rights. The center's mission is preservation of national identity, sovereignty, and Christian tradition. Mrs. Eszter Parkani, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the floor, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you on behalf of the Center for Fundamental Rights from Hungary. The Commission's proposal for the cross-border recognition of parenthood is coming forward as a seemingly economically motivated integration effort with the declared aim of facilitating the free movement of residents of the EU. At the same time, the real aim of this initiative may very well be to put ideological pressure on member states that interpret the concept of family in their legislation in a traditional way, in lines with conservative and Christian values, and as a result of which they do not allow the joint adoption of homosexual couples. The adoption of a regulation like this with direct effect on the subject of the proposal would easily circumvent existing national legislation. In accordance with the principle of delegation of power, the EU shall act only within the limits of the powers transferred upon it by the member states in the treaties to attain the objectives set out in advance. All competences not conferred on the community by the treaties remain in the power of the EU member states. An important aspect of this present initiative is therefore that the powers to settle personal and family status are currently part of member states' competence. Therefore, the EU cannot establish binding rules concerning this area. The adoption of the proposal in this way therefore raises not only substantive concerns, but the initiative is undoubtedly capable of undermining the sovereignty of member states. Regarding the Hungarian domestic legislation, it can be said that the implementation of the initiative would not only be in conflict with the substantive legislation of family law, this would also be contrary to the explicit choice of values of the Hungarian legislator, as the fundamental law emphasizes the importance of protecting traditional family relationships. As the current treaties do not raise any related obligations, there is no legal or moral basis for the introduction of a common standard with regards to this topic, which undoubtedly belongs to the competences of the member state's sovereignty. Therefore, we think it is vital to draw attention to this matter. It is very important to raise the concerns of citizens, especially in the V4 countries which we belong to, because all of our legislation states that marriage is between a man and a woman. And very recently, Hungary has adopted laws last December that state that only married couples and marriages between a man and a woman can adopt children. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And our next panelist is Martina Bednarzykowa, the founder of Pro-Life Action, an organization that takes steps to protect the right to life and support families. Mrs. Bednarzykowa, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to support this cause on behalf of the non-profit pro-life action in Bratislava in Slovakia. Our main goal, as it was said, is to protect need. And that's why we strongly support the international petition Stop Homo Adoption, because we think that the best interests of the child is to always have a mother and a father. According to the Focus Agency, most people in Slovakia, 82.9% to be precise, are against adoption of children by homosexual couples. And we think that the Commission should respect our will as European citizens, and that's why we support this cause. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Benarzikova. And I would now like to pass the voice to our next panelist, who is Mr. Patryk Daniska from Slovakia as well. Mr. Daniska is president of the board of Human Rights and Family Policy Institute. The institute deals with protection of fundamental human rights and freedoms, as well as the support and protection of a family based on the marriage of one man and one woman. Mr. Daniska, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to quote a little bit from a Slovak family code, which says, quote, "Society recognizes that a stable family formed by the father and the mother is the most suitable environment for the complex and harmonious development of the child," end quote. So, a child needs a stable environment formed by both mother and father. Every child has mother and father. That is a biological fact, because in order to create new life, you need sperm and ovum. So you need father and mother, man and woman. This is a biological reality, and the legal systems of many countries respect it and keep family law in line with this biology of human reproduction, as they always did. We also know that that women and men are different, and they have specific gifts, and we all cherish this diversity, which is fertile and enriching for all of us. Important fact is that fathers and mothers, although they love their children equally, they care for the child, they nurture the child differently. And the child benefits from this father and mother diversity. Thus, it is in the best interest of a child that he or she may grow up in a complete family with both mother and father. And we respect this interest also in cases of adoption for the child, not vice versa. The child is important here. So we pursue interest of a child, which is to live in a complete family. Sadly, there are countries in Europe which, for ideological reasons, detached legal parenthood from biological reality and from the best interest of a child. By allowing adoptions to same-sex couples, they intentionally create half orphans because they deprive adopted child of either the mother or the father. Child thus becomes one of the victims of LGBT ideology. I believe that the principles of our family laws, especially that we have only one father and one mother, must be protected, and the European Union may not be used to spread LGBT ideology from one country to another. This is not for what EU was created. Therefore, we strongly support this petition, and I believe it can help to promote our family laws and, most importantly, the best interests of children. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniska. And we would like to hear from Mr. Alessandro Fiore from Italy. from Provita and Familia organization. Provita and Familia works in favor of children, mothers and fathers, defends the right to life from conception to natural death, promotes the family based on marriage between men and women, and freedom and education priority of parents. Mr. Fiore, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I thank Ordo Iuris for this invitation, for this important event. And we think the proposal of the European Commission is illegitimate, gender-inspired, anti-democratic with unforeseeable consequences. Why do I say this? Well, the EU incompetence in family law, so I will not say anything further on this point. Anti-democratic with unforeseeable consequences. Well, I think the proposal would not only have the immediate effect of spreading LGBT ideology in other countries, but also would have consequences in the future if any one country in the European Union decided to change their family law in 5-10 years. This would have effects in all the other countries. And this goes beyond, for example, the adoption of gay couples. Imagine if in 5 years, a country in Northern Europe, say, admits adoption for 3 fathers, or in a polyamorous relation. This also would have effects, and all the other countries would be obliged to accept the evolution of family law in the other country members. So, and this is also a gender-inspired policy, because gender perspective says that sexual identity, biological sex doesn't matter. And so it doesn't matter if you have a father and a mother. 2 fathers can do well, 3, maybe 2 or 3 mothers. It doesn't matter. And this is obviously a very controversial theory. Many would say, I would say too, ideological. And this is what is at the base of a sort of LGBT perspective on family and adoption. In regards to Italy, for example, we, in our constitution, the family is referred to as a natural society. The Constitutional Court, in an important decision in 2010, has specified that this means that the marriage can only be between a man and a woman. Adoptions, at least the full adoption, because there have been some changes in recent years which allow some kind of adoption, like stepchild adoption, in the case of homosexual couples, but generally this would be against the law in Italy. So it would be a problem for our law, as in the case of many of the countries that you represent. This is why we strongly support the petition, and I thank you for your invitation.
Thank you very much. And now we would like to thank all the panelists that are connected with us. And now we would like to hear the records we have been given by another panelist. And the first record was Mrs. Alix Lejar, from France, administration operating at the European Parliament. One of the goals of the organization is to emphasize the enormous importance of the family as a factor of building identity and social bonds. Problems with the voice, I think. Okay, so maybe we'll try.
I think our technical crew is trying to fix that problem. Maybe we should try to listen
the next panelist.
To the next panelist. So let's hear the voice of the director of Human Dignity Center, Mrs. Edith Frivalski from Hungary. Human Dignity Center is an organization that takes action to protect life and family. If we could hear from Edith Frivalski.
In your power to support the family as we all know it, a mother, a father, and their children, mom, dad, and kids. With the same title, Mom, Dad, and Kids, we already collected the support of 1 million EU citizens through a few years ago, and at that time, we could protect marriage and family for the time being. Now we see another attack on national competence and the fundamental group unit of the society, that is, the family. Also, we see some kind of a threat coming from the European Commission, saying that if member states do not agree with the new ideas, they intend to use other legal ways to reach their goal. There is no doubt that homosexual people want and sincerely love children. Giving love to the innocent babies and bringing up children is a skill we can all have regardless of sexual preferences and habits. But how come that nobody realizes the mistake here? How can states willingly deprive the child of a mother or a father? It is one thing that divorces happen or one of the parents die in an accident or illness. Divorces allow children to have a relationship with both their father and mother. Accidents and illnesses are not intentionally done to eliminate either the father or the mother from the child's life. But adoptions to same-sex couples, especially with no biological relations, intentionally take away either the mother from the child. No state should willingly erase one of the parents from the children's lives. And if for some reasons certain states introduce such intentional steps, they should not force others to do so. Adoption is not an easy solution for a crisis situation. It is usually the least worst possibility to find a way out of a life problem. Children who can be adopted already have some issues to solve. Every single child comes from a mother and a father. Their relationship is the source of the new life. It is no secret that the best interest of the child is having both a mother and a father. No state should purposefully put innocent children in situations where they have no father or mother. They need both. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for Mrs. Przewalski voice. And now I would like to pass the voice to Mr. Jan Gregor from Czechia. Mr. Jan Gregor is a vice president of Aliance pro Rodinu. The aim of this organization is to support the strong position of marriage and family in society.
Thank you very much for an invitation. We are glad that we can cooperate with active people who care about in common good. The EU is trying to harmonize family law on a pan-European plane, but such an approach is lacking sense. We would find ourselves in a situation where two forms of law would exist, one national and second European, which the member states would have to respect and change on the national level. EU bodies are trying to get more power than they have been given by the treaties. Nowadays, LGBT activists see an opportunity in the basic right of the EU, the right to freedom of movement. In a common case, they celebrated the first victory of subversion against national family law. And they continue how we can see in the present case before CJEU about preliminary ruling applied by a Bulgarian administrative court. The European Commission proposal works in the advantage of the progressive narrative that there is something like a right to a child. The European Commission says in its proposal that it is in the best interest of the child to have two same-sex parents. Let's also keep in mind that consequences that go hand in hand with such a selfish view of the world. The same-sex couples decide continuously to deprive the child of the second biological parent. Not to mention the support that such a proposal will bring to the surrogate motherhood business. Both the woman and the child become a sales item. LGBT activists is non-profit organization need to show some results of the work they are paid for. For example, by the European Commission through a special program, Law, Equality and Citizenship. In Czech Republic, for example, is co-financing the campaign of the organization Smefer, striving for homosexual marriage. They earn more than 4 million Czech crowns, more than 160,000 euros. The new initiative of the European Commission is a just clear example how the radical LGBT places that are far away from the public and public opinion. The consequences and aftermath of political decisions would influence society in few years, not now. So our aim is clear. We have to focus on that issues, zoom it for the public, as we have made in the last campaign in Czech for sending feedback to the European Commission. We combine activism with providing information in an article. We hope it will make a pressure on our politicians who represents us in EU bodies, especially in the Council. And we have to make a coalitions. And we have to reframe the playground. Without this, we cannot win. Our strategy is clear. Progressivists are people who seek change and try to give away the rights, which is a positive agenda, especially in the nowadays society, where a huge part is apathetic. Conservative people are in defensive position. We have to focus on victims of their rights, especially children. But even more effective is outrun the progressivists. For example, fighting against domestic violence from our perspective, push laws against surrogacy and criminalize it, developing research and spread awareness of the best results of children brought up in a complete family in the marriage of a man and woman. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you all the best.
Mr. Gregor, thank you very much for your voice as well. And now we would like to come back to the record of Mrs. Alex Lejar from Femina Europa.
Femina Europa gives its support to this international petition and wants to explain its position. The European Commission has published guidelines for a regulation on the recognition of parenthood between member states. This proposal, if passed, would be binding for all member states of the European Union. Femina Europa would like to remind the European Commission that the EU does not have competence in the area of marriage, family and parenthood. This competence belongs to member states. This proposal raises concerns, especially on the topic of surrogacy. The practice of surrogacy is violation of children's best interests, and it creates situations of human trafficking. It's a new form of slavery. Defending women's and children's rights, Femina Europa is against all forms of surrogacy. The proposal of an EU-wide parenthood recognition would implicitly recognize surrogacy. The principle of free movement can't be used to bypass national competences, to force EU citizens to accept regulations they are opposed to. Femina Europa calls for the respect of the principle of subsidiarity. The EU does not have to impose regulations in an area where it has no competence. Femina Europa would like also to remind that the European Parliament condemned the practice of surrogacy in 2015. The EU Commission should respect the position of the Parliament.
Thank you, Mrs. Lejeune. And our last panelist is Mr. Tomasz Kovacic from Slovakia, the president of Association for Life and Family, which is the organization that for many years has been organizing marches for life in Slovakia. I would like to give the voice to Mr. Kovacic.
Dear friends from Poland and from all around the world, my name is Tomasz Kovacic and I am from Slovakia, from Association for Life and Family. I want to stress only one thing in this short message. We have been fighting for years against different attempts to change values which were coming from different EU institutions. I am deeply concerned about this and deeply convinced that these attempts might break EU apart. If these attempts will not stop, EU might break apart, and this is not something what we want. We want to be friends, we want to be partners, we want to work together to better the world. I want to ask the EU elites to stop the attempts to change the values of the nations, of the countries, of the people of EU. Please, let's come back to the origins of EU. Let's work on the world without the war. Let's work on the better economic prosperity. Please do not break the EU apart.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Kovacic was our last panelist. We would like to thank so much for your interesting lectures and your precious support for our petition. And we would like now to sum up our conference. All your voices presented today are very important elements of objection against Commission's proposal for a recognition on the regulation on recognition of parenthood between member states. We believe that our coalition might influence the European Union decision makers and prevent them from undertaking legal steps that are unacceptable for the significant part of Europe's society.
I'd also like to thank you for your voices. As we could see, there are numerous arguments against imposition on European member states of those proposals made by European Commission. There is argument because the European Union is trying to gain more and more power, that the initiative, that the proposal is going to deprive children of their mothers and fathers, that the consequences of changing the family law in one country will affect the family law in other countries. We can have different opinions. We can discuss in European Parliament and in many other forums. We can dispute, but trying to impose one view on those important issues by the European Commission on the part of the European Union is something that we should strongly oppose. That's why it's so important to spread the message, to sign our petition. We are asking you one more time to sign our petition and to encourage as many people, as many organizations as you can to join and sign those petition. I'm convinced that the whole list of arguments that we have presented and that we have heard during our panel is so strong that it has potential to convince the European Commission and to convince the European peoples and nations to stand up and to oppose that kind of imposition of European Commission. Once again, thank you very much. I believe that we can show once again the address of the petition a while after the end of our discussion, and I think that that's just the beginning of our efforts to stop that proposal and that together as an international coalition we can protect the children. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being here today.